to day 21, which is called Magnificent Outcomes. It's quite ironic because I have just had a non-magnificent outcome because I'm outside again, so I don't know whether this will work, but we'll give it a go. And this morning I had walked along like this wooded path somewhere, and I came across this creek. It was like hidden. It was lovely, like old campfires had been set up, and it was so pretty. The picture I've put on here doesn't do it justice, but it was just in the middle of nowhere, basically. I just fell across it. So I've been out for the day. I went to Plymouth and did the city thing, and then I've come back and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to go and take my flip-flops and my little bag and my little towel, and I'm going to go back to that creek and sit on the bank and read my book. And as I have got here, I forgot that I'm on a tidal estuary, so there is no creek. It's just mud and quicksand by the looks of it. So that hasn't worked out. So no, that is not a magnificent outcome. However, let's try what Rhonda said should have maybe created one. Maybe if I'd just looked at the tide times might have helped. Okay, so day 21, Magnificent Outcomes, is a really long-winded quote which takes up half the page, so I'm not even going to read. Sorry, G.K. Chesterton. We all want good outcomes to everything we do. In giving thanks before he performed an action, the writer, Gilbert Keith Chesterton, used the magic of gratitude to guarantee the outcome he wanted. So probably the quote would have helped, but basically he just said thanks for everything from sketching, painting, swimming, fencing. You get the gist why I didn't read it out. You will have had times when you thought to yourself, I hope this goes well, or I hope this turns out okay, or I'm going to need a lot of luck. All of these thoughts are hoping for a good outcome to a situation. But life doesn't happen by chance or because of a stroke of luck. The laws of the universe, sorry, I keep thinking people are behind me, but it's just the trees, operate mathematically to the finest possible degree. That is something you can count on. A pilot doesn't hope that the law of physics will keep working during his flight. You don't go into your day and hope that the law of gravity will keep you on the ground. If you want magnificent outcomes to everything you do, then you have to use the law that governs outcomes, which is the law of attraction. Now, every time I mention the law of attraction, I can feel you wince. And I even wince myself, to be honest, because I get a bit embarrassed at what the phrase law of attraction usually conjures up in people's minds. Most of you probably think it's a load of old twaddle. But if you just think of it as it is like attracts like, that's all it is. It's one of the universal laws. You can push against them all you like, but regardless whether you're aware of them or not, you instinctively follow them and they all intertwine with each other. In fact, it was funny because I had this very conversation recently on a plane. This isn't that plane story I referred to the other day, that was years ago, but this was back in May. I went to Mallorca for a glass of wine with a friend. Literally went for 48 hours. I recommend it if you're looking for something to do one night. Anyway, we were sitting at opposite ends of the plane because I wouldn't pay for the luxury of pre-booking the seats. So she was right down the front and I was in the emergency exit bit, and there was this guy sitting next to me and he was like, wow, I'm not happy I've ended up here, which I let go over my head as to whether he was referring to me or the fact we were in the emergency exit. And I said, wow, everything happens for a reason. He was like, no, you control your life. And I was like, well, I see it as a bit of both, to be honest. You can control it, but there's all like the universal laws. They all play a part too, which made me then go into the 12 core laws that I know about. And I was talking about metaphysics and all sorts of stuff all before we took off. And at the time I hadn't even come across the magic yet. I was just giving him my own point of view on how I see life. We literally never shut up for the whole 2 hours. We debated every which way. He wasn't buying movie moments, but as we came into land, he did say to me that when he sat down and I started to go on about metaphysics, he was thinking, what have I got here? This is going to be a really long flight. But he said, as I've talked more to you, I actually get your point, and you've made me intrigued to observe life in the future. So that's good enough for me. A magnificent outcome for both of us. He's not here to argue. He might differ. Right, back to the book. The magnificent outcomes practice is being grateful before you do something that you want to go well. Rhonda excels herself here. She gives 31 examples. I think that must be a record. So she says you could be grateful for the magnificent outcome of a work meeting, a job interview, through to great seats at a concert or a tax return, plus 27 others that are in between. So lots of situations where you could want a magnificent outcome. She also then gives us another time we can use this practice, which is for when something unexpected happens during the day, because more often than not we jump to conclusions and immediately think something is wrong if things don't go to plan. But she says that instead of you thinking you might be in trouble or you're unhappy about a situation, take the opportunity to be grateful for a magnificent outcome. For example, if you miss the bus or train, instead of thinking this is a bad thing, be grateful for what the outcome could be. Sliding doors all over. So what you need to do today is, at the beginning of the day, choose 3 separate situations where you would like magnificent outcomes. Do you know what? If there's one word that I struggle to say, it is magnificent, and it is in this chapter over 40 times. So just choose 3 things that are important to you in your life currently, such as the job interview she talked about earlier, if you've got one coming up. But if not, you can select any 3 situations. Make a written list of the 3 situations you've chosen and say, thank you for the magnificent outcome to X, whatever it is. For the second step, you are going to choose 3 unexpected things that arise today and use the power of gratitude for their outcome as well. I'm not saying the word again. You could do this practice before you take 3 phone calls, or before you open 3 mails or 3 letters, etc., etc. So let's recap the day. You count your blessings, make a list of 10. At the beginning of each day, choose 3 things or situations that are important to you where you want magnificent outcomes. List your 3 things and write each one as though you are writing after it happens. As you go through the day, choose 3 unexpected events that come up in your day that you can be grateful for, and just before you go to sleep tonight, hold your magic box and say the magic words, thank you, for the best thing that happened during the day. And while I think about it, another part of the story from earlier that wasn't a great outcome for my friend was that when me and this bloke got off the plane, we walked down towards my friend and we were just telling her all about how our philosophical conversation that we'd been having. And she said, gosh, I pity the person who was next to you two. And we both said it exactly the same time. There was no one next to us. And honestly, it just hadn't occurred to me to call her over to come and sit in the spare seat. I was just on to my metaphysics and didn't really think about my friend. So that wasn't a great outcome for her. But hope you have a great outcome yourselves today. I'm not saying the word again. See you later.